Hello everyone, my name is Noah, my pronouns are they, them, and welcome to this Stitches video. This is going to be our Finish It February vlog. I'm kind of considering it a Finish It and Fix It February because as you will see throughout the vlog, there's a lot of mending I want to do. But before we get started, I wanted to show you what I have that is sort of works in progress, unfinished objects, stuff like that. It is already halfway through February. I was really busy the first 2 weeks of February. Today is actually the 14th, and today is the first chance I've had to sit down and record this. I have finished one item already. I've finished a pair of gloves. I'll insert the picture here. They were for a friend, and it was an Libris fibers yarn dyed with lilac, I think, and iron. And then a GamerCrafting yarn that was called Sentinel Ravens, the colorway. And I'll include all the information. You can see the pictures and stuff. It was the Wasabi and Ginger gloves, and I really love how they turned out. They've gone to the friend already, which is why I don't have them to show you, but I did take some pictures, so you would have seen that. So let's get into all of my UFOs and WIPS. A lot of them, I'm not going to lie, are the exact same ones I had when I did my attempt at a fiber podcaster sort of thing last February. Like, some of them haven't even left the box they're in, but that's okay. First thing we have is this giant basket here. It's not giant, it just feels giant. So I visited my mother over Christmas amongst other family members, and while there I really didn't want to work on what I had been working on, which was some cross stitch, which you will see later, as well as a pair of fingerless gloves, which I've since finished and gifted to their new owner. So I did what any crafter would do. I started a brand new craft. I started a rag rug, and as you can see, I got this all stitched together. It's not entirely flat, so I am considering maybe ripping it out and starting over so it is actually flat, or at least closer to flat. But I have this circle, and then I have really long braid. And the reason this got started was because I found this basket of old clothes and fabric scraps in the closet of my childhood bedroom. I've always been this person. I have always been a crafter. I've always been a saver of little scraps and things like that. So when I made in high school a t-shirt blanket as well as some reusable bags out of old t-shirts, I kept all the scraps, and that's mostly what all of this is from. So I'll probably, I don't know if I'm going to work on this at all on this month, but it's here. I'm going to keep working on it. It's a great way to use the fabric scraps that I wouldn't use otherwise, but this is definitely a keep. I just don't know when I'm going to finish it. The next thing we have is in this bag, which I'm pretty sure you've seen before. This has been a very long-term WIP that I have been working on for years, I think now, maybe a couple years, but that's exactly the way I want it to be, so no stress about that. This is a scrappy blanket. This is the, I want to say it's the southwesterly blanket, or northeasterly blanket. We got there in the end, by Skeinanigans, and I am very close to finishing the second stripe. It's a longer little blanket, and it's basically you knit up each stripe, and as you go you can pick up the stitches, and it's a chevron, and I'm just using all of my scraps of fingering weight yarn. And I have it on size 2.5 US or 3mm Chiagu, like short-ish circulars. So that's what's here, and I've worked on this on and off over the past couple years whenever I don't have anything else going on. I'm not super concerned about trying to finish it this month because it is not really something that I am expecting to finish anytime soon, but I would like to maybe finish the second stripe and get that all evened up, just for funsies. We'll see. We have this next in my Crafty Like a Fox bag, which is also great GamerCrafting yarns, designed by Ryan. What's in it is not GamerCrafting yarns, but you get the idea. It is some spinning. This is a turtle made spindle, I think. It's 3D printed. I've had it quite a long time. And I don't remember what this fiber is. I know the colorway is called Prose, and it's a wool viscose blend. I don't know who dyed it or anything like that. But I've got this, and then I've got a couple nests of fiber in here, and then I have the whole rest of the braid here. Now this is something I'd like to finish this month maybe. I haven't been doing a lot of hand spinning, but I really do enjoy it, so I think this might be something I work towards. And yeah, that would be something I'd like to finish this month. I don't have right now any like gift knits or commission knits that I need to be working on, which is nice because I've had deadline knitting since like August in some form or another. Actually before that too. Pretty much all last year I was under some sort of deadline, whether it was finishing something for myself or making something for someone else as a gift or as a commission. Always deadline knitting, and I'm really kind of freed up right now. I'm kind of talking with a friend of mine who wants a pair of gloves because they saw the other pair I made, so I doubt that'll start this month, but that is the only thing I can think of that might come up that has a deadline attached to it. And then we have this guy, which is coming off the needles. I think I started this, honestly I don't remember when I started this. This is the window wheel bandana, and it's just meant to be a little bandana type head covering thing. And it is being knit out of Ex Libris fibers, no name number 3 in the Indigo colorway. It's a sport 2-ply, 70% organic untreated merino and 30% hemp yarn. And I have the rest of the ball right here. And I'm getting pretty close to being done with it. I'm using the Pegget that I used when knitting the baby blanket for my cousin, which I can link to. And I have there's a mask in here. Of course there's a mask in here. Why wouldn't there be? It's 2025, of course. Yeah, so it's the window wheel bandana, and I never printed it out, but I did write down some of the instructions on an index card to carry with me. And it's in this bag that I made a long time ago out of this really cute Viking fabric that I really like. This is something I'd like to finish this month too. I feel like I could probably finish it in a night or two if I really just sat down and worked on it. I may actually do that tonight. We will see, but it would not take me long, I don't think. No more than a couple days max. It's just something that I started impulsively at one point and then just kind of ran out of steam on, which is unfortunate. And then we have this guy. And this is something I started back in December. It's a cross-stitch pattern. I have everything on this cross-stitch organizer here. It's my first time using one of these. So yeah, I've been working on that. And I have the extra embroidery floss in here as well, and some needles in my pattern. Self-drafted pattern. And this is going to be a gift for a friend eventually, but I don't know when I'm going to finish it. I will say this is, I think, an 18 count fabric, so like 18 and 1 inch. So this is taking me a while. It's black, obviously, and it's very hard to see. I need to have good lighting. I should probably put like a headlamp in this bag or something. And each letter takes me about a half an hour to do, so it's been very slow. I think the last time I worked on this was probably around New Year's. I had to put it aside to finish the crocheted fingerless gloves and then the knit regular gloves that I made. So yeah, this is something I'd like to work on. I'm not in a real hurry to get it done. I think I'd like to finish those other 2 projects first, but we will see. And then I have something here, which this is a cross stitch that I started. I have no idea how long ago, but quite a while ago, and it's supposed to be a fox on like a background of some trees maybe. And I remember putting it aside because I was having a really hard time keeping track of all the stitches and things were getting confusing. I was kind of having to fudge things, and I was just kind of like, I don't want to do this because I keep messing it up. But I think maybe now that I know a little bit more about cross-stitch technique and how I might go about this, I might be able to do this in a way that makes more sense to my brain. But this is going to be a very large piece once it's finished, so I think that was also part of the reason why I didn't want to finish it. I was like, it's just going to be huge, which was a little overwhelming. I've just kind of not been finishing things that unless they're for someone else or have some sort of deadline in my mind. I tend to start things and then that's it. So that's most of the stuff. We have a few more things in here. So we have this crocheted blanket, which is kind of close-ish to being finished. It's got like a couple feet here of width, but I would like it to be at least square. So yeah, I don't think I'll finish this month. I've been working on this for several years as well. This is probably my longest term WIP at this point. And it's all just wool scraps that I have, you know, had left over from projects over the years, and I had kind of run out of scraps. That was why I put it down, but I have a lot more now that I think would go with this. So I'll probably replenish the bag I was keeping the scraps in, and then maybe in March I'll start working on this again once I get a few other things done. There's a lot in this. I obviously have not touched this since I showed it off last February. But yeah, this is where we're at. I really do like this blanket. I'd like to finish it. It's fun. It's alternating cool and warm colors. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It's a fun, I love scrappy projects. So yeah, it's fun. I like it. I want to finish it. I don't think there's much in the way of things that I want to just give up on. There is one thing in here that I don't think I will finish, and that's this here. This was another self-drafted cross-stitch type thing, and it's not to say I'll never do it, but if I do this, I want it to be more centered. I just kind of made it up as I went along, so it's not really centered at all. And it's sad, because I am almost done with this. It says, I welcome the knowledge of strange and unsettling erotica, which was something one of my friends in a writing group said. I was like, that needs to be a little cross-stitch sampler. That's kind of how I am in life. One of my friends will say something, and I'll be like, that needs to be a cross-stitch sampler. But this one, I don't know if I'm going to finish it because it's not like centered. I don't know. I'm not worried about this one at all. We'll probably, maybe, I don't even know if I'll rip it out. I don't know what I'll do with it. Something, maybe? I don't know. Not interested, not really, I don't really care. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then the only other thing in this box is my poor mom's socks. These need, to have bits added to them. They're really felted. They're quite old at this point. Like, she's worn them a lot, and like I said, they've been in there a year. I have a ball of this yarn somewhere that I'm going to, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit another cuff and then just another like extension to the cuff and then just add it on here. And yeah, it looks like it's just a 3x3 rib, perhaps. That's what it looks like. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do and then sew it on. I was originally planning on ripping out the top cast on edge or cast off edge, I forget which, and then just, you know, knitting upwards, but I'm not doing that. This is far too felted because she's worn them a lot. So yeah, those are my WIPs or like things I have on me. There are some things like pants I want to fix. I've got a lot of really holy pants, and I don't really have an issue with pants with holes in them as like a concept. But these are starting to get to the point where they're just falling apart because the holes are so big, and I'd like to keep wearing them. So I'm going to fix the holes in the legs. I have a pair of sheets that I want to fix. And then I'm still working on my Moomin house, which I think I showed you last year. It's a model of the house that the Moomins live in the books by Tove Jansson. And I've been working on that. I will definitely not finish it during this month, but I'd like to make an effort to, I do these things called Moomin Mondays, where Monday nights, that's the craft I work on. I've unfortunately, since I've been working on commissions of like things that I need to get done for deadlines, I have been putting it to the side, but I don't have any projects that have deadlines attached to them right now, so I think I will be able to get into it more and keep working on it because I'm way behind on the boxes that they send every month. So yeah, that's what my Finish It, Fix It February looks like. And yeah, I'll take you along with me for the next. I am also including the crafty videos that I need to finish. I have at least 2 that are completely filmed. I have a pocket video. I made the pocket almost 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, I don't know, quite a while ago. And it's all edited. I think the last thing I need to do is do a, like, here's the pocket, this is what it looks like, this is what I, you know, like a conclusion and an outro. That's all I need to do, edit that little bit, stick it in there, it'll be ready to go. And then I have the video of my heirloom quilt cardigan, and that is almost completely done as well. I think I've almost edited the entire thing. There's just a few things I need to add in, like, here's a list of the yarns I use, just like little thingies at the end. So I would like to finish both of those this month. And maybe not publish them both this month, but I would like them to both be done so that I can publish one maybe February and one in March or April. So yeah, that's where we're at. I hope this intro wasn't too long. I hope it made sense. I'm trying to be quick because we're losing light. And yeah, I will see you in the next clip. Okay, so it is February 16th today, and Finish It February is going well so far. The first thing I finished was sewing this patch on. I think you can see that all right. If not, I'll include a picture, but I hadn't actually started sewing it on before now, but it was kind of on my list of things to do, and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna check it off. And you saw a little bit of that. So I did that, and then I finished just a little bit ago oh, hello Ravioli, please don't knock my camera over. Finished the video for my pocket belt, my Flora pocket, and that is uploading right now. I made the thumbnail and everything, so that's done. I've looked at the heirloom quilt cardigan video, and I have a little bit more than I thought that I needed to do, but that's fine. I don't think it'll take too long. That might be something I can do this weekend. What I'm going to work on now is the water wheel, I think is what it's called. Let me check. I write it down. Name of it. Wheel Window Bandana. I think I'm pretty close to the end, so I will need to look up the full pattern and go from there, but I took pretty decent notes in terms of where I'm at. I haven't worked on this in ages. I just realized I had this backwards. So there, you can see it, and I really want to finish this just to get it off the needles. I like this yarn. It's nice. It's different from what I normally use, and of course, now that I'm focusing on finishing things, all I want to do is cast on all the things. There's a sweater I want to make. I want to make myself my own pair of gloves. I picked out a pattern. The pattern I picked out is a mitten pattern, but I'm going to kind of hack it using the ginger and wasabi pattern for the fingers, but yeah, so like I just kind of want to do all the things. I want to start sewing. I have an idea for a new quilt project. Gonna try and finish some things. So yeah, I have a little bit of time before I need to start making supper, and I'm gonna use it to knit and figure out where I am in this project. So this is me working on my Moomin house, which is a model kit that is based on the home of a series of characters from the writer and illustrator Tove Jansson. And yeah, this is the house where her characters, the Moomins, live. And I have been working on this house for a couple years now. This kit, they send you a box every month with 4 or 5 different sets of steps. They each come with like a little instruction booklet, which has some information about the Moomin world and the characters, and of course the instructions on how to build it, along with the pieces that you need to build whatever that step is. And right now I am pretty close to the end. I'd say I'm maybe 80% of the way through, 90% of the way through. And it is not a cheap kit, but I will say the quality is quite nice. However, it is not available for you to start the kit now. The company that does these is I believe a Japanese company called De Agostini, and they tend to have kits available for a certain amount of time, and that's it. However, obviously they're not going to just say, oh, well, you can't finish it, we're ending it. So I think the way they do it is after they end it, no one new can sign up, and you can only finish it out if you're already set up to get those boxes every month. It's a fun kit, and I like it, although I do think maybe it's a little overpriced, although the quality is very good. And then, yeah, we're back to me working on the bandana. One weird thing I noticed while I was working on this is that it smelled really bad, and at first I thought maybe it was the yarn. I didn't really know why it would be the yarn, but I couldn't figure out what else it would be. But I was smelling the yarn, like holding the ball up to my nose and sniffing it, and it smelled fine. But when I was working on it, you know, holding the needles in the yarn kind of, you know, at chest height knitting, I could just smell this like sort of almost rotting smell. And then I realized it was the needles. So I don't know if these wooden needles have just picked up a lot of oil from my hands and started to go rancid somehow. I don't know. It was very, very odd. I've never had that happen before in the almost 2 decades of knitting that I have been doing. I can't believe it's almost 20 years. It's like 18 years, geez. But yeah, that was so weird. I haven't thrown the needles out because I feel kind of weird, like they're perfectly good knitting needles other than they smell. Maybe I'll wash them with some soap, like dish soap, and see if that helps. Like I'll just scrub them quickly and dry them off since they're wooden. I don't want to like soak them or put them through the dishwasher or anything. But yeah, have you ever had that happen? I have never had that happen, and I've never heard of it happening. It was just very odd. Thankfully though, the smell did not seem to transfer to the yarn, so my bandana is not stanky. So I am on the border, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, the border, the edging of my wheel window bandana. And yeah, so I have the like cord here. And I'm not 100% sure. I think I may have bound off too early because it was like repeat this section 8 times and then repeat the first 2 rows once more. And I think I may have only done it 7 times. I just couldn't tell. I have I don't know if I showed it before, but I have the peg-it thing to keep track of rows. And I couldn't tell if this peg being in 7 meant I finished the 7th row and I'm on the 8th, and when I complete the 8th I'll move it over, or I'm on the 7th and then move to the 8th. And I decided to bind off, but I think my choice to bind off when I did was a good one, because after I bound off and I could pull it off of all the needles and like stretch it out and see what it looked like, because it was way scrunched up on the needles, so it was kind of hard to tell what size it was. It pretty much wraps around my head without even needing the ties, so I think if I'd gone any bigger it would have just been too big. And I could have counted the stitches. It did give a final stitch count, but I wasn't going to count 200 some stitches, so there's that. And yeah, so now I'm onto the border, like I said, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about this pattern while I worked. I'm watching a platypus knitting vlog podcast, and I'm inspired by the way that she talks while she's knitting about what she's knitting, and I like that because that feels natural to me. That feels like I am talking to a friend, and of course I could record a voiceover, but why not just talk? So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking a little bit of time to knit before I start working for the day, which is nice. But yeah, so for one thing, when they say slip stitches, you have to slip some stitches throughout this pattern to create the ridges that you see here, and then there's some on the back. They mean slip purlwise. They don't say that. They just say slip, as far as I know. And I mean, it becomes pretty evident if you look at the pattern, the pictures in the pattern, that it's supposed to be a sort of like stockinette stitch rib almost, or like channel. I don't know exactly what you want to call it. So it's not ribbing, but it kind of looks like a rib. So yeah, but if you don't know that, if you're new to knitting, and this is a very, in my opinion, beginner-friendly pattern for the most part, you're not going to know that, and you may end up having to rip out quite a bit. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, they don't really give advice for how to knit this I-cord border on the edge.
And I don't know if they should do that, whereas I do think that they should be telling you slip purlwise because, you know, like I said, this is a beginner-friendly pattern, so they should make sure that the beginners that do knit it have all the tools. I am knitting normally, but then when I get to the last 2 stitches, because I have 3 that are the I-cord, and then I pick up 1 that's the edge, and I knit them together. I knit 2 together through the back loop, and that makes it so that it twists ever so slightly, and the I-cord sits on top of the edge. And that was something I didn't do for the first 2 stitches down here, and I don't know if you can see it, but if you can't see it, I'll put some like B-roll over it. You have the edge of the garter stitch kind of eating into the border, and that doesn't look as nice. And I could have undone it and like redid it, but this will be sitting on the back of my, like at the nape of my neck, on the back of my head. And just like my hair, what's going on in the back of my head? None of my business. So those are my 2 thoughts. I do like this pattern. Yeah, it's a Hobie pattern. Hobie is a yarn company. I don't know if it's available outside of the US. I feel like it might be I guess it is available outside of the US because I watch a Canadian crafter who uses it quite frequently, but I don't know. I don't really know. I've never bought any of their yarn. I've just heard of it. It's available at like Michael's maybe. But yeah, the yarn I am using, I can show you real quick, is an Libris Fibers yarn, which I'm friends with the dyer, so I end up purchasing a lot of their yarn to support the business. She's also in Pittsburgh as well, so like, you know, I go to markets, I see my friend, I buy her yarn. Is there a better way to live? This is No Name number 3 Indigo. This was, I believe, like she was kind of experimenting with a new base. It's a sport weight, 70% organic untreated merino and 30% hemp. And if I remember correctly, she said that it wasn't super popular. People didn't really want to buy it, so she wasn't going to be restocking it. So unfortunately, as far as I know, you can't get this from her, but I would recommend checking out the rest of her yarns. But I like it. I think it's a fun texture. It gives you kind of, I'm assuming it's the hemp, gives you a kind of like, almost like hairy, fuzzy look to it. And I don't know, I like the variegation of the yarn, color, and all of that. So yeah, I'm almost done with this. I don't know if I'm going to finish it today, now before work, or later, but yeah, I thought I'd check in real quick and try this way of talking with y'all. Well, here we are. It is March 2nd, so Finish It February's over, and yeah, I thought I'd do a quick little recap of everything I finished. Obviously, I have the wheel window bandana here, which I finished. And yeah, I don't know how much I said about it before, but I'm not 100% sure how much I like it. It feels a little bit big, especially on the sides. Like, there's a lot of maybe extra fabric here. I don't know. But it's kind of cute, and it's something different, and I will keep trying to style it and wear it, you know. And yeah, it looks nice. I really like the yarn. Like I said, I'm not super a fan of maybe the shape, but I really do like the yarn and the way the yarn looks in this pattern. And in general, I have a little bit of the yarn left. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I do like the texture of I think it's hemp is the other fiber that goes with the wool. And I really like the way that looks, so that's nice. But yeah, that's one thing I finished. I think that was the second thing I finished. The first thing I finished was not actually something I showed you during the initial Here Are My Projects roundup, but I was looking around in my office and I found this patch that I've had for multiple years now, and I decided, you know what, this is a good Finish It February project. I'm going to finally sew it on my jacket. And it says, "Grow food, not lawns." So if you don't know what the patch means by that, it's the idea that a garden is better, well, for people who can eat the food maybe that's grown in the garden, but also better for the earth because lawns are monocultures, they take a lot of water, they don't really add any biodiversity, that sort of thing. So that's what's going on here. And I really like this patch, and I'm really glad that I finally sewed it on. I bought it from a local artist here in Pittsburgh. I don't remember who, or I would tell you, but it's been so long I don't remember, and there's nothing on it anywhere that indicates like a name or anything. But it's like a lino cut patch on some denim, and yeah, it looks nice. I'm glad I sewed it on with the contrasting green embroidery thread. And yeah, it was a fun little evening project. And then I have the only other finished object here is this cross stitch that I was working on pretty much all month once I finished this. And I finished it right on the 28th of February, so yeah, I finished this a couple days ago. And my iron is actually broken. I plugged it in one day recently and it just didn't heat up anymore. So what I did was I sprayed this liberally with like a spritz bottle of water and put it on a flat surface. I have like a metal tray that I set on top of the radiator and then put a towel over top of it and a book on top of it, so it flattened it mostly. It was pretty rumpled and gnarly. Obviously I've trimmed it out. I really like the way it looks, and I gotta find some sort of frame for it, and then I'll be able to gift it to my friend who was the person who said, "My gender is the void, feel free to stream into me." And I feel like the stars really make it. Like, I was a little torn because obviously the void is just a void, like the void of space perhaps, but it needed something, and I'm glad I added in the stars. And I'm glad they're kind of like pastel different colors. I don't know, I don't know, it makes it feel like it pops. It finishes it. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks great. This is the first time I have successfully completed one of my own designs for cross stitch. This was pretty easy. I found the font online and then altered it and then just made the stars myself, but they're just little like crosses and then crosses with extra on them. So yeah, I'm, like I said, really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks great and I hope my friend loves it. The other thing that I was working on is not a finished object. This is kind of the opposite of a finished object, honestly. Is I'm frogging this blanket. It's quite a bit smaller than last time you saw it. You know, it was like almost probably 3 feet long. But I decided that the main thing is I want the crochet to be not through the back loop only. That was how I was doing it when I started this because I didn't know what I was doing. And it bothers me now knowing how I would have done it if I'd started it now. And it's kind of a loose gauge. I'm thinking maybe I'll go down a size and just do more stitches. I do really like this width. It's kind of like a good big lap blanket size. But what I'm doing, like I said, is I'm unraveling it, and all of the balls of yarn are separate now. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to recrochet it in rainbow order, but I'm going to make it look like the 8 striped pride flag, which, if you don't know, is the original pride flag before the 6-stripe one that we think of today. It includes hot pink at the top and a teal in between, I believe, the green and the blue. So it'll be pink, red, orange, yellow, green, teal, blue, purple. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of the scraps I have of one color and just use them. And then when I get to the last ball of that color, I'm going to start alternating in the next color. So when I get to my last ball of red, which honestly right now I only have one red scrap. It's in here somewhere because I don't knit with red. But what I'll do is I will take the orange, which is the next color, and start alternating it in. So it's a sort of gradient, not a hard and harsh shift. And I think that will help with the fact that the stripes aren't all going to be the same width. That being said, I do want to find more red and more purple yarn. And I do have a lot of worsted weight wool yarn, which is what I want to use for this, from my attempts at making a temperature blanket in the past. So I will probably incorporate whatever skeins of those I have left. I did sell some of the skeins because they were like whole skeins that I hadn't even cracked into. So I don't remember what colors I have left, but I will go with that and see what I can add to this to bulk it up, because some of these colors aren't obviously going to work. For example, the rainbow yarn I have here is not going to work, and that's because it's not all one color. This is actually yarn one of my nieces dyed like probably 7 years ago, and I knit, back when I only had 2 nibblings, they each dyed a skein of yarn, and then I knit them hats out of it, and this was just the leftovers. And I have 2 of them because, like I said, I had 2 nibblings at the time. So that won't work because it's not one color, but also colors like this won't work. And you might say, well, this one's pretty close. It kind of reads red, but it's too varied, I think, because it's red and pink and yellow. If it was red and orange, maybe, but since there are different colors in here that wouldn't be next to each other, for example, red and pink would be next to each other, but red and yellow wouldn't be, I'm going to keep this and do something else with it. These are both yarns I dyed with Kool-Aid back when I was in high school, and I still have them. And this is another one that I believe I dyed myself with Kool-Aid, but this orange will work. So that'll be nice to have. Not all the yarns are going to be the exact same type of yarns. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now on unraveling this. It's a process, but that's fine. I don't mind. It's been something nice to do, especially when I was working on the cross stitch. I would only work on the cross stitch at my dining room table with the big light directly above, because that was really the only way I could see. And I think I may have mentioned that earlier, but with it being black fabric and so fine, that was the only way I could work on it. So this was something nice to work on while I was like maybe sitting on the couch, watching something with my girlfriend, or drinking my coffee and wanted to just mindlessly unravel. So that's what's going on in here, and I don't know, should I make a video of me redoing this? I don't know, maybe. I think that could be fun. It's just going to be the rugged ripples blanket. Like, it's not going to be super complicated, but I don't know. I think that it could be fun. And of course, there was that sheet that you saw me mending, but I didn't quite finish that. There are so many little holes in that. I'm going to keep working on it, but I didn't really feel like bringing a whole fitted sheet in here into this room and holding it up and being like, look, the holes are somewhat filled. But, that was my one mending project this month that did not quite get finished. But yeah. Oh, I also finished 2 videos, and I know the one is already available. The other one I'm going to put up sometime this month in March, but I completed my pocket video. It's called These Pockets Have No Dress. And yeah, you can find that on my channel. I'll link to it. And that was something that I was so close to being done with it. I had edited a lot of the footage, and it needed that, that time to be finished. So that is something I'm glad I checked off my list. And I also finished my heirloom quilt cardigan process video, which, depending on when you're watching this, may be available. If you're watching this right after I published it, it's not, but I'm hoping to put it out sometimes towards the end of March. I think it'd be fun to maybe make 1 video a month on this channel, but I don't want to let it go too long because I finished the cardigan itself back in November. So yeah, I don't want it to be like, hey, I finished this, 6 months ago, here's the video. So that's something to consider. Progress on the Movement House, which you saw me a little bit of working on. Worked on it for both Mondays, and yeah, I made some progress. I know last year when I recorded and published the Fibercast, I included a picture, but honestly, there's not much different. I added some walls to the next floor, painted a couple pieces of furniture, so I don't think I'm going to include any photos, but I was working on that, and I'm excited to keep working on it. And when I eventually finish it in like 6 years, I'll be sure to show you some pictures of that. And I think that's everything I worked on. I know looking back, I'm kind of like, oh, I didn't finish that much, I didn't do that much, but first of all, having listed all these things, I did do quite a bit for several reasons. Just for, first of all, in general, I did quite a bit. Second of all, I started making a dedicated effort to do Finish It February halfway through the month. So I only had 2 weeks instead of a whole month. And yes, of course, I did include those gloves that I finished at the beginning of the month, but that was just for fun to show you those. That doesn't really count in my mind. But also, I work a full-time job. I'm doing stuff at home. Like, I don't sit and knit or cross-stitch for 40 hours a week. So yeah, I think I just need to be a little more gentle with myself. And I think that's something that a lot of crafters feel pressure to be constantly finishing things. And to me, that's really not what knitting's about. Knitting is about making things that I can use and enjoy, but also the process, enjoying the process. So yeah, I am just going to try and be a little more gentle with myself about that. But before we go, I wanted to show you, I know I was talking about earlier, I kind of had cast on itis about a week ago, and it really didn't go away. I was just like, once I finish the cross-stitching, I can cast something on. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I have 12 skeins of yarn that I bought at the Center for Creative Reuse that are a wool silk blend, and I knew I wanted to knit a sweater, and I wanted to use a pattern I already had. I used Ravelry to go through my library and look through all of the patterns I have, mostly from Pom Pom was where I figured the pattern would come from, and it did, but I wasn't sure, so I went through and put in like the yarn requirements, what I had, the weight, the amount, and I had a couple options, and I ended up choosing the Skyward cardigan in issue 38, which is autumn 2021. And I will probably put in a picture, but this is what it looks like in the magazine. It is by Yiğitcan Vatansever. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but I tried. And this is a pullover, and it's got cabling, and it's really pretty. And this was not the one I was initially planning on knitting. The one that I was going to knit is also in here, I believe. It's the cover item. But I decided that since I had just finished a cardigan, I wanted to knit a pullover, something a little different. And I started this actually last night. I spent almost all day yesterday working on this swatch, which, oh my goodness, you wouldn't think would take that long. And it wasn't even because it wasn't the right gauge. I blocked it out, washed it, blocked it, and it was perfect, dead on. The problem was I needed to knit reverse stockinette, which is just stockinette, but purl side up. But since I'm working on lever knitting, and I don't think you would know this yet, but I've been working on lever knitting, and I decided I'm going to do the lever knitting like entirely for this project. I had to learn how to lever knit purl-wise, because I've only knitted so far, and the fact that this is like a little flat swatch, but swatching in the round, and it has all these extra strings, oh, it was a mess. It was so much of a mess. It took me probably close to 8 hours to knit this guy with like 2 or 3 full starts before this. But I was able to cast this on last night. I was at a craft night with friends. We were watching an old Dracula movie, 1970s made-for-TV type thing, and this is how much I have. And yeah, I love how mossy it looks, and I'm not going to talk about this too much because I know I'm going to film a video and share the process with you. But I'm really enjoying it so far, and it's something different, something exciting, and hopefully, definitely, it will be done before Finish It February next year. We're both knocking on wood and manifesting today. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you didn't enjoy it, why are you still here? Go do your favorite craft. Go touch some grass. Go hug a loved one. Go drink some water, something. You don't need to watch this video if you're not enjoying it. But yeah, what are you working on for Finish It February. What did you work on? Did you participate? Did you fix things? Did you finish things? Did you frog things? Or maybe you just cast on all the things because it's February and it's cold where you live, if you're like me and you live in the northern hemisphere and you want some serotonin. So yeah, let me know what you're working on. I'd love to hear. So yeah, like the video, dislike the video, comment, ring the bell if you'd like to know when I post new videos. Like I said, I'm going to try and do one a month maybe. We'll see. This is just a fun hobby for me outside of my work and stuff. So things get done when they get done. But I do enjoy sharing with y'all my projects and my process. And subscribe, I guess. That's another way to know when I post new videos. And yeah, I think that's everything. All the silly things I'm supposed to ask you to do. You can find me here, obviously, as Stet Stitches. You can also find me on Instagram as Stet Stitches. And you can follow me on Blue Sky if you want as Stet Studio, which is my business name. But I don't know. I think I'm going to post some, sort of crafty things on there, but I'm not sure. So probably just Instagram for now. But yeah, I think that's everything. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you are having a wonderful day and getting to work on something that brings you joy. Bye!